Bromeliads are very popular plants in tropical and subtropical gardens. They are very low maintenance, colorful, and exotic. Plus, there are so many varieties to choose from. Now, we've done 2 bromeliad videos so far, in which we identify the main groups and discuss the growing requirements and routine care. In this our third video, we will focus on the spectacular variety and how it changes its appearance in response to light. So, please keep watching.
Thanks for staying and welcome back to the Calyx garden. For those of our regular viewers, you recognize this as the front garden. And in today's video, we're going to be focusing on bromeliads, as the title said, and that's why I'm surrounded by a selection of those that we have in the garden. Now, this is our third video on bromeliads. We've covered the general requirements as well as the main species we have here in the garden. And we're talking about the Aechmeas, Bilbergias, Neoregalia, and Guzmania. Now, if you have not seen those videos, then I would recommend that you take a look at them after you've watched this one. What we're going to do in this video is feature a particular plant in the Aechmea group, and that's Aechmea ludinmaniana, difficult to pronounce. We're going to be reviewing the propagation as well as the growth during the 18 months since planting.
I'll begin with a short clip showing the separation and planting of 3 pups from this mother plant. Young pups such as these are attached quite tightly to their mother plant, so it's best to use a clean, sanitized roll cut or other cutting tool to remove them. Yeah, it really wasn't easy separating them from their mother plant. But here they are, intact and ready for planting. This variety of Aechmea does best in a bright location so that it can produce these vibrantly colored leaves. I selected this area for planting. You can see that there are other young bromeliads in the same area, and at the time of planting, this area got between 4 to 6 hours of sunlight in the morning and dappled light for the remainder of the day. In terms of planting, because these plants are essentially epiphytes, they do not need soil to grow. Planting consisted of making a depression, filling the space with dried leaves, gravel, and some compost, and firming the bromeliad pups in place. Moving on to the next activity, which is routine maintenance. That's quite easy in the case of bromeliads. As we mentioned in a previous video, bromeliads growing outdoors require very little maintenance. They are adapted to obtaining their nutrients from the air and from decaying organic matter that collects in their central cups. However, in periods of low rainfall, you may have to top up the water in their cups. Never let the cups run dry. And if there is excess organic matter at any time, periodically flush the cups using a squirt from the garden hose. Let me get back to our plants in the beds. Now, this is what they look like 10 months after planting. We're looking at the plants now in August, which is the peak of our summer season, and the older bromeliads in the beds are blooming very nice. Summer heat is followed by fall rains, in Jamaica, and 5 months later, this little bed looked almost like a mini jungle. And that's because of the rapid growth of the surrounding trees as well as other vegetation. So the area went from an area that got dappled light to one that got very low light for extended period. And as you can see, the effect, there were no blooms, and our feature bromeliad Aechmea Lodinmaniana went from a vibrant plant with lots of colors in the leaves to a predominantly green with yellow margins. But even though Lodinmaniana lost most of its vibrancy, its yellow margins provided a welcome contrast against the green foliage, don't you think? Now, this is a kind of plant that is valuable to have around if your area is predominantly shady.
Just 10 paces up from the low light condition, we have 3 Lodinmanianas at the base of this Italian cypress, and I brought up the 2 potted plants that were in the low light condition so we can get a good comparison.
I'll block out the 2 Neoregelias to the right and focus on the 2 Lodinmanianas. You can see that this Lodinmaniana, growing in the bed where it gets more sunlight, is much more colorful than the one that I just took from the shady location.
So that's a major difference just by moving away 10 feet from vegetation. And if I go around the other side of the other bromeliads in the way, but I'm just featuring this Lodinmaniana, this one gets a little bit more sunlight, but here's the comparison. One on the right is the one that I just took from the low light, and this one is permanently located at the base of this Italian cypress.
This location gets, I'd say, between 5 to 6 hours of sunshine on a sunny day. So far, I've shown you the color expressions in low light and in medium light conditions. Next, I'll show you the third area that gets much more light, and we'll see how the color changes. Now, this area gets about 8 hours of direct sunlight on a sunny day, and actually, you could see that this plant looks rather bleached. But let's say you want to move your bromeliad from that low light condition into brighter light so you can get the vibrant colors that you're seeking. You have to be very careful not to move it too quickly, or else those leaves may get sunburnt. Now, the gradual process that I use, I start off by moving, and we're assuming a potted plant. We take it from the low light into a brighter location, leave it there for 2 days, leave it there for about an hour, take it back to the low light condition, and every 2 days or so you gradually increase the length of time that the plant stays in the brighter location until you get to your desired sunlight exposure. You can vary it, of course, nothing is cut in stone, but the whole idea is do not move it suddenly from the low light into the bright light, or else you're going to burn your leaves.
That's it for the first video in the series, looking at how growing conditions affect the expression of color in various bromeliad species. Now look at this, lovely, isn't it? And it's really hard to determine which is the better one. It all depends on what you want, what your landscape is asking for.
And as I mentioned before, we'll be featuring how sunlight impacts the color displays in other varieties of bromeliads here in the garden. And for those of you who are looking at the orchids nestled amongst the bromeliads, I promise you, we'll be doing a video on those soon.
Now, if you like the content, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and for those of you who may not have subscribed as yet, we're asking you to do so you will not miss updates not just on bromeliads, but on all the other lovely plants we have in the garden that we feature from time to time. So, until the next video, I am Thelma saying take care, bye-bye.